I do want to bring in Congressman Joe Neguse because he's a Democrat from Colorado. He co-founded the Bipartisan Wildfire Caucus in Congress. Thanks for sticking around with us. So much there just with what the president and vice president had to say. I want to try to tick through as much of it as I possibly can. Let's start with the overall suggestion that this could be an even worse year this year, which would be horrific news for you folks because you already had the worst year ever. You had multiple fires burning at one time just in your district. Tell me your concerns as you look ahead to this fire season.
Well, good morning, Chris. You're right. 2020 was a devastating year for wildfires across the western United States. Certainly, our state was no exception. As you mentioned, my district was home to the first and second largest wildfires in the entire history of Colorado, the East Troublesome Fire and the Cameron Peak Fire. And I suspect that this year will be even worse with respect to wildfires across the West. And of course, we've already seen that in different fires that are raging in different states. I couldn't agree more with the president in terms of the way that he articulated the challenge that we face and the need for us to make significant investments. I support wholeheartedly his announcement with respect to increasing the pay for the federal firefighting workforce. I believe we need to do more, but I, along with many others, implored the prior administration to take the steps that the president is taking today. And so we're very heartened to hear that. The expansion of the NEMO, National Incident Management Organization, crews, addressing really the nature of seasonality and the fact that really in the West, fire seasons have transitioned into fire years, and that these wildfires are now become so pervasive and they go year round. So it is clear that we need to make a more significant investment at the federal level with respect to resiliency, mitigation, suppression, all the above. And so we're certainly working on that, and that's one of the reasons we formed the Bipartisan Wildfire Caucus, because as the president said, wildfires don't respect jurisdictional lines or political lines. They impact Republican states, Democratic states, and it's important for all policymakers to really step up and to provide some solutions for our communities that are hurting.
I want to talk to you a little bit about these reports that there just aren't enough firefighters. And I think, frankly, the president said he was surprised to learn that firefighters make under $13 an hour. So we have people, I know you've been there, I've reported on the front lines of these fires, the idea that they're out there and they're making less per hour than someone who wants to go to Target or Walmart or McDonald's right now, and many of them only working 6 months of the year, then they have no income, they have no mental health resources. This bump up, this bonus that's at least going to get them to $15 an hour. I know you don't think it's enough, but what's it going to take, especially given the fact that if you're thinking about going into this or getting back into it because the pay is better, you're looking at a challenge that, as we just laid out, is greater than they've ever faced before, potentially.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. These people sacrifice so much, the firefighters putting themselves in the line each and every day, sacrificing ultimately to protect our communities. And they are woefully underpaid, as I mentioned. I think the step that the president has taken is an important one, but it has to be the first step and not the last step. There are many of us in Congress who have been calling for a complete overhaul of the system, increased pay, increased benefits, obviously increasing the workforce so that there's more availability in light of the pervasiveness of these wildfires, the intensity, and as I mentioned, the reality that they are now extending throughout the year as opposed to a particular season. I chair the Public Lands and National Forests Parks Subcommittee. We're working on this in a bipartisan way. Our hope is that we can have some legislation enacted through the infrastructure bill. I also would just say that with respect to the infrastructure bill that the president noted, we are hopeful that we could invest upwards of $10 billion for reforestation and resiliency efforts, which would also help in the fight against western wildfires. But make no mistake, I think there is urgency to this because there is a clear commitment on the part of many in Congress to finally do what is necessary, muster the political will to support the federal firefighting workforce and the local firefighting workforces that are doing so much to protect our families each and every day. They deserve that much.
We have just